The trip begins in narrow streets of Ireland. Passing through the window, faded, colorful villages in stormy weather. St. Fachan's Cathedral in Kilfanora is the first stop for those interested in history. Main destination in this episode is Doolin Cave. But first, let me introduce myself. I am your eyes and ears in this trip. Hary, a voyager and the voice of legends, is seated beside me. This is the last trip we had together. Hope he found a much better place than ours. The legend hunt begins on a North Atlantic Ocean island. Village Kilfanora.
And this is a church of the little town called Kilfanora in the Burren country in the southern part of Ireland. This town used to be called the City of the Crosses because it had some of the best collection of stone crosses here. Not many of them left. Let me show you around.
He used to love everything that had the shape of a cross, grave, or legend. That's why this is the starting point.
And this is one of the fine examples of the crosses of Kilfanora. They say used to be 7 here. You see, they are very high and they are carved on every side.
The cathedral has a magnetic mix of styles. What is bearing underground? These crosses are just the tip of the iceberg. Can stones tell a story? Over centuries, so much effort and energy have gone into this structure. Just look how magnificent it is.
And here in the field right behind the church stand the most amazing cross of them all. They call it the Cross of the West, and it's the tallest of them.
On the way, I was thinking, if Ireland has an interesting ruins, landscapes, and an ancient spirit surrounding our trip, like an angel flying over and over, then what kind of route is under? The beauty of journey is that it has plenty of sights and new connections, but the only thing that pushes us forward is time, which doesn't allow us to enjoy more of it.
Ireland is full of these ruins, castles and churches, and if I would have the time, I would stop in every one of them.
An unusually large portal tomb located in the Burren was waiting for us.
And this is one of the mysterious spots in Ireland. They call it Brunabron Dolmen. It's what we believe in a prehistoric grave or a tomb. Despite the fact they never found any bones of an animal or a human inside. It's been laid here maybe 6,000 years ago. Nobody knows exactly when or who did.
Can you imagine what water can do over time? Drop by drop, will it destroy or can it create and form one mighty, breathtaking wonder? Let's dive in and find out the story behind it.
This is maybe one of the most spectacular caves in this area. It has been recently discovered, maybe 10 years ago, but it has something very unique inside.
So the story was they saw a stream disappeared, and in the Burren we have a thing called the disappearing river, where the water will disappear, and when it disappears it goes into a cave, mostly.
like that we put up top here.
Excellent. So let's come right in here.
Okay.
And we're coming into a mine shaft here. This was built to bring visitors like yourself in. So that's what it's here. So the cave was discovered in 1952. It was two Englishmen called Varley and Dickerson that were potholing or spelunking, which is the study and exploration of caves.
Okay.
And they saw a stream disappear. And when it disappeared, they thought, or a river, there was a possibility of a new cave, because we have a thing in the burn called the disappearing river, where the water disappears into the ground.
The disappearing river.
Yeah, disappearing river. So they looked for an entrance. They found two rocks. They found a very small entrance. But from that point on, they did everything wrong. They should have told the main group, hey, we're going looking for a new cave. This is 1952. No one knows they've gone down to this small cave. And the second thing is, when you're in a very narrow cave, you have to hope to find a place where you can stand up in order to be able to turn around.
Yes.
Otherwise, you'll have to crawl all the way backwards. So just tells you how young and brave they were, you know. So, and the first day, it took them about 2.5 hours. Yeah, cool. We're almost there, guys.
That's all right.
Absolutely.
Here we are.
Very good, guys. So just watch your step as you step in here.
That's good.
Yeah.
Take a look at this.
Yeah.
Nice.
And when you come in here, we're going to have to grab a hard hat. So we'll all need the tunnels there. So folks, as you step in here, just grab a hard hat, and if it doesn't fit, you'll find one eventually.
Which color do you like? I'm going to take a blue one. If it fits my head, all right?
Very good. That's it. Just once it fits your head, that's the thing. Yeah, exactly. And particularly you'll have to bend quite a bit. So it's more the tunnel area here. And then just right here is where my light is shining. That's the original entrance there. See how small and narrow that is there? That's it there. And that and it took about 30 minutes to get to this.
They crawled from here.
They crawled from the car park. It took about 30 minutes, about a half an hour. They all they had, again, as I said, was the two small shovels and the small light. It was a gas light. Because it was gas, they didn't turn it on. They didn't know how long they'd be. Mm-hmm. And this was using a thing called plug and feather.
These holes here, yeah?
Yeah.
What is that?
They couldn't use dynamite. It's called plug and feather. They would get a thing called the buster. The pressurized air would spread the earth and the rock, cracking it. So what it'll take is less than 5 minutes to walk through. It took 2 expert tunnelers from Poland over a year to build this, to be so exact.
From Poland?
From Poland, yeah. They work for an Irish company. They're one of the best in the world. That stream there is the original stream, and that follows us all the way into the main cave.
This is the disappearing river?
That's the disappearing river, exactly.
Okay.
Very cool. Yep. I hit that every day as well. Yep. And you have one big step here, so just be careful.
Oh, don't worry.
Very cool. Yeah. And that's just a small little, that's a pillar of boulder of columns with a stalactite and a stalagmite. That's a small cave there that they stopped. And this is, a lot of this has grown since around 2005 there, so.
Wow.
And that's the original stream there, it's dammed. They just come right through the middle here, which was good, because when they put their hand in, they knew they're going upstream or downstream.
Oh, okay.
Because you lose your sense of direction very quickly. Now, the downside was there was a flooding. This cave used to flood quite a bit.
Yeah, sure, I can imagine. I mean, you guys living in a rainy island.
Exactly.
There's a lot of water, and when it comes to water, probably full.
Absolutely. There was a 60-minute flood warning.
How are you guys doing right now?
Doing pretty good. No. What happens sometimes, it might go up to my ankle here, and they'll close the cave. But
because the water just go further, I think it doesn't stay.
Exactly, and that's one of the mysteries of the cave. The big cave doesn't flood. And that's, when we go in, I'll show you why that happens there, which is quite extraordinary how they do that. So this used to use it in mining before the advent of dynamite.
Yes.
And they still use it in certain places because
that's nice. That's hard stones. What stones are these?
It's all limestone.
Oh, that's just limestone.
Yeah, but limestone's
so that's not that hard.
Well, it can be strong. It depends. Yeah, exactly. You'll find out.
I think I'm better off without it.
Yeah.
I don't see.
Yeah. Okay, just be careful.
Sure.
So just right here.
Oh.
If you see where my light is shining here, this is a fossil here.
Oh, it's a fossil. Look at here.
And they said it's either a prehistoric eel or a prehistoric worm. It's about 100 million years old. Limestone's made of dead trees, plants, birds, animals, fish. It's skeletons on the wall that become rock all the time. Because one of the things that was here mysteriously, when they came into the cave, they could see no sign of life. There was no bones, cobwebs, or droppings. And the only thing they can see is these fossils here, which is mysterious. And one of the mysteries is every cave in the burn has bats except this cave. This cave has no bats.
Bats.
No bats, like the mammals, like Batman.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there's nothing like that.
the bat's going to get him from where? There's nowhere to exit.
Exactly, that was the thing. And there was no food here. That's the main thing there. And then just right over here, guys, this is what they call the grotto. And it's just an area you see
It's a grotto.
different formations. It's not a religious shrine. It's just an area you see all the different things happening there.
Oh, that's
and that's pure limestone there. It's sometimes known as devil's teeth or dragon's teeth. We're almost there, guys.
Yeah, that's all right.
Almost there.
We're tough, man. We filmed everywhere. Don't worry about that.
Very cool. You have a bit of a slope here, so just be careful.
All right.
Yeah. The final part they went through, they were up this high here, and they went through that little area there. It was a little bit bigger. That's just some earth that fell in over the last couple of years. But it wasn't much bigger than that. And from here, there's still about another 20 minutes. We'll be going on in the moment. There's another group in there, so we just got to wait for just 1 second here. Now, the thing is, on the first 2 days, you remember it took them 2.5 hours to get in, and also took them 2.5 hours to get back out again. So.
And what was that?
It was an entrance there. You can see it just right there.
So there was another entrance.
This is the original entrance.
So what about the one we just passed over there?
That was part of it. That was part of it. Like the tunnel was, you would be in for a while, then you might step out because the area was bigger. You were back into another tunnel.
So they crawled. So this was a small tunnel, tiny little
small little tunnel there.
Oh man!
Very good, guys. Folks, if I just put you to the side here, we just have another group coming out
There
here.
will have a very big group with me.
Very good.
Damn.
Very big group.
And just, this is the group from yesterday, folks.
Very quick.
How long it takes from here?
Yeah, we're pretty much there. Once we get through this little entrance here, and we might want to turn off.
I can hear the echo. We're in a big chamber now.
Yeah.
I can hear the echo.
We might want to turn that light off just for a second.
Turn it off for a second,
just
please.
Just for a second, because we're going to get that effect. Yeah, that's
Exactly.
perfect. Excellent, guys. So we'll be facing this way here. Okay. So I'm going to go dark just for one moment, guys. So just bear with me. It'll only be for a few seconds. So in 1952, at the end of the journey, this is what they discovered.
Oh, Jesus. That's amazing.
And what they had discovered was the largest free-hanging stalactite in Europe. It is the third largest in the world and the largest one you can see up close like this. Here, what you need is exactly. It's just a two, because there's one here. The longest one is still growing. You'll see water dropping from it.
Yes.
To the right, there's another stalactite. This stopped about 30,000 years ago, like a small earthquake or land shift.
How long is it?
This, the biggest one is 24 feet. It's over 7 meters in length. It weighs over 10 tons. It's like the equivalent to 6 elephants.
How do you know the weight when it's been hanging like that?
These scientists have done it, so they've done quite a lot of detail on this.
Okay.
And it's still growing. Now it takes, for it to grow, say an inch or 2.5 centimeters, it takes 1,000 years.
So we're not going to see the next inch. Yeah?
So if you come back in 50 years from now, it'll have grown. It'll be barely a millimeter, but it will still be growing. So it's
beautiful.
Yeah.
And there is no risk of it falling.
That's the question we get asked the most. The answer to say is,
I'm worried about that.
Yeah, the answer to say is possibly nature will decide. For the stalactite to fall, it would take a major earthquake or volcano. In Ireland, our earthquakes are very small, 2.0, 3.0 at most.
So it's not an earthquake.
And we've no live volcano. So if we did get a big earthquake or volcano, it's a game changer for the whole island.
Sure.
What they would be afraid of, to be honest, this other one here to the right, something stopped the water about 30,000 years ago, like a small earthquake or land shift. So it's not that
It's
it's...
the inclination.
Yeah, and it stops growing. So it stops being a living thing. You have to see the stalactite as a living thing. It's like a tree.
Yeah, it is. It's
So once the water continues, like you see this one here, this big spike here, this is about 800,000 years ago, and simply the conditions weren't quite right in the cave. But this one continues to grow, and that's really...
How old is the whole thing?
The University of... The cave itself is between 1 to 2 million years old, and they say about 1 million years ago, a huge river came through here. And this river was so powerful, it got rid of all the ice and the mud, because this is also one of the deepest caves in Ireland.
Okay.
Not deep by European standards, but by Irish standards, it's very deep. But this river was so powerful. The other thing is the roof is really flat because of that. But they say the scientists at the University of Birmingham in England estimate that the stalactite itself is approximately 500,000 years old.
500,000 only.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the cave is about 1 million years old, and then there's it.
Can we go down there?
We can, of course. Yeah, you see here, the thing. And actually, just show you real briefly. The original cavers came from that entrance there, and they landed on this hill here. And this hill is filled with glacial mud. And this would have been ice about 1 million years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, and then they came down to where you're standing, and pretty much this ledge was here, and everything else is pretty much the same as it was in 1952.
Nice.
All they've changed here is the steps, the railings, and the lights. So the first vantage point is going to be just right here. And we can take a closer look at the stalagmite. So there you see the water dropping. And what's amazing about that water dropping is almost the exact amount of drops. It never changes. Could be the sun, could be shining, could be pouring rain. It's almost the exact amount of drops. This is how the stalactite regulates itself, how it grows. It's like your boiler at home. And they're counted once a week as they're monitored for one of the universities. Now this one here has stopped growing. You might see the odd drop, but it's just condensation. And particularly down further, you can see how dramatically it's changed its appearance because the water has stopped coming to it. Now this is continuing to grow, and I'm sure you remember from geography, stalactites grow down from the ceiling and stalagmites grow up. And there's the stalagmite. The water from the stalactite is feeding the stalagmite. Now there's
pouring up from down there too.
Exactly. And there's also another mystery, much like the bats, is that this stalagmite is actually very small. It should be much, much bigger. For example, the one in Lebanon, the stalactite and the stalagmite are pretty much touching each other, become what we call a pillar of both. Exactly. Like this, yeah. So we go down further and I'll explain it. Now, the other thing to note is it looks like it's just hanging there. But they say it's attached to this ridge of rock overhead, which is about 50 feet deep. Within that, there's 10 to 20 feet of roots for the stalactite. And somewhere in there, there's
so it has a root.
It has a root, yes.
So the root is going deep in the stone.
Exactly. And also somewhere in there, there's a little lake of water.
How big is that root or how long?
They say it's about 10 to 20 feet. They'd make an approximation.
Well, that's still,
it's still pretty long.
To carry that heavy weight?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a very heavy, so you need a root.
Absolutely. So it's more secure than it looks. Again, nature.
Over there's limestones.
Yeah, it's limestone all around. And we're also in a labyrinth. There's caves all around us here. So we're going to go down now to where the stalagmite is here. So just hold on to the railings and we'll take a closer look at the stalagmite.
Oh, this one, yeah?
Yeah.
Are they going to touch?
We can touch this one here.
They're probably going to touch the one from the ceiling and this
eventually
one.
They are. They are, eventually. And I'll show you why now. Let me just, very cool. So there you see the stalagmite and it looks very different. Yeah, it's very rough and it's edgy. Normally it's quite smooth. Now the other thing to know is just as you look up towards here, just be careful with your hard hats. There you see the stalactite. And that's where you see that curtain effect. This is what they call with the calcite. That's
a curtain effect. It looks like a curtain.
Exactly. It looks like a pair of curtains hanging from the window. So by rights, they should be closer together. This mystery they solved very quickly. What they discovered was the cliff itself has a slight edge to it. So they counted that slight edge. Instead of the stalagmite growing up, at some point it gets too heavy, too uneven. And at some stage, it's literally going to reverse, like, or what you call slide over.
A little bit because of an inclination.
Exactly. Just like this one here and this one here. So because it's going to do that, it allows the stalactite again, because this cave, we have this unique look, it almost looks like a chandelier, and that adds to it again, because there's no stalagmite coming up.
It looks like a chandelier.
Yeah, very much so. So the scientists say eventually the stalactite will touch the ground. It may not be this version of the stalagmite, maybe the next version of it, but for the stalactite to touch the ground, they say it will take approximately 300,000 years. And we're offering a 50% discount if you come back then. So very cool. Excellent. Very good.
300,000 years.
It is, but it does give you a sense. Everything in this cave is measured hundreds of thousands, millions of years. Nature just takes its course. I'm just going to stick ahead. Yeah, we're just coming down here. So folks, just hold on to the railings. I'll get some more lights on here.
Kind of a bridge here. Oh, nice.
There you go. Cool.
And from here, it looks amazing too.
And there's a lovely reflection in the water there as well. And it's a very 4D experience. You can see it from all sides. The sense of it.
Here. Nice. And the color is different. I mean, this
absolutely,
is white and this is yellow. What
makes
what to make this color different?
What happened here, once the water stopped, be it an earthquake or a small thing, it became drier. So it became much more stone-like, so it almost looks like a Gothic church.
It becomes like a wood. This is like a real tree, and this became like kind of a wood.
Exactly, and the sediment came down over time as well. So that's why it looks totally different. You'll also see how flat the roof is. Just tells you how powerful that river was. Looks like a cathedral. And also just the cliffs itself. Limestone's very strong, but water has a really powerful effect. Like in a granite cave, you wouldn't get this kind of detail. But here you have. So the river was really, really powerful. Because also, once they discovered this cave in 1952, scientists and cavers all over the world wanted to come here. And they would come to that very small cave. They would crawl to like the ledge here. They would come down to this point here. They still monitor the temperature right behind that rock from one of the universities. And about twice a year, they still take geological samplings from the earth, because nothing lived in the cave for about 1 million years, all with the exception of just one thing. In the stream here, there's a little shrimp. Now I saw some, it's a
sweetwater shrimp.
It's a small blind shrimp that's indigenous to the cave. It what you call originated here. And it's a feature of deep dark caves. I saw one yesterday. They tend to go around the rocks. They're very small and shy. They live on microcosms of the water. and they living around the rocks
I
there.
imagine that they got like kind of blind little shrimps living in this cave. It's the only thing that lives in that cave.
Yeah, and now the other mystery about the stream is that by rights, this stream, when it rains really heavy, which happens quite a lot, it should flood the entire cave.
Exactly.
Because you remember the smaller cave used to flood.
Exactly.
And it's a feature. It doesn't matter how big the cave is in the burn. The water comes so fast, it's almost biblical. Here, they noticed it would just go as far as that grate there. So they knew it was drainage
But it
going
must
on.
be going to drainage somewhere.
Exactly. And in 1980, the University of Bristol put a dye in the water to see where it was going. They found out it goes all the way out to the Atlantic Ocean, about 2 miles north of here. It's a place called Ballylacken as you go north towards Galway. So quite a journey for the stream, past the largest free-hanging stalactite in Europe.
Down, the water goes everywhere.
Yeah, and again, that's, and also the water's fresh. So this area in 1952 was really poor. My family are from here, so people knew about a really large cave here with like fresh water that have made use of it in a heartbeat. But no one knew the cave existed till those two guys pulled the two rocks apart. Now you'll also see these lovely crevices and balconies that that river created about 1 million years ago. And then you see here, these are what they call bell jars. These are, see, it's shaped like a bell here and here. You can see
this is a
here.
bell jar. Okay.
Yeah, and it's just literally as the water swirls around. Now this is another small cave they discovered some years later.
Okay,
the reason the light is on there is, you see this glacial mud here?
Yeah.
This would have been ice about 1 million years ago. It turns to this mud known as glacial mud. And it's very good for pottery. If you silt it, it turns into very fine clay.
Okay.
So Karen, one of the owner's daughters, she has her own pottery. It's very popular. And the clay is very good for that.
So it's come from this area.
From this, yeah. Now, the reason the light's on is because they just go in there to get the material, but it's very small. But just remember...
This is going probably to another chamber.
No, just about 50 feet in. But it's a really good question. Where we are right now, there's caves all around us, overhead us, underneath us.
Yes.
So there could possibly be more caves with more large stalactites.
Imagine, yeah.
Now, but you see this cave entrance here, this is more typical of a burn cave, this one right here. And this one, if you crawl in for about 10 feet, it opens up to a bigger cave. Not as big as this, but a big cave nonetheless. And
So there's a cave there.
there's definitely a cave, and this will probably be open to the public in about 5 years or so. Again, they work very slowly and carefully on account of the stalactite.
Yeah, sure.
But this is why they still think there could be more large stalactites around here. For example, the biggest cave we have is 5 miles from here. It's not open to the public, but there's a cave called Pownagullum. It's up on the top of the mountain, Slieve Alva. It's 15 kilometres long. Pownagullum.
Oh, okay.
Pownagullum. And it is 15 kilometres long. It has its own river system. You have to get into the biggest cave in Ireland. Nothing quite like this. But you have to go down the middle of a field in a side entrance much like this. And that cave is famous because the writer J.R.R. Tolkien used to live here in the 1940s and 50s.
From Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, he worked for the University of Galway, and they say he got the name Gollum, that's in Lord of the Rings, from the cave. Because Paul's Irish for cave, and Gollum is like a rock dove, it's a type of bird.
We're having the Doolin Cave here in Ireland
We do, yes. And the bird makes a call pretty much like the Gollum does in the book. So
very interesting.
just a piece of information. But they still think there could be more large stalactites. Science doesn't help as much as you think.
We can find enough under the ground. There's a lot of it. These two guys came in 1952. They were lucky, or they had like instinct.
Yeah.
But how many guys are like this, or how many?
No, and it's still no, very true, and it's still very popular here. People would just come on vacation just to go potholing, to go into the caves. Yeah. Sonar science will show a cave.
Like anywhere else?
No, it's very unique. And as you said, you have to see it from all sides to get the full scale of it. Like, so it's really
beautiful.
And the acoustics are really good here. Yeah. They've had a brass band from Germany play here as well.
Maybe fall down.
No, it's good.
Keep me here forever if they fall down. You keep me here forever.
Yeah, it's they've had a brass band from Germany and a choral group from Philadelphia, but all limestone caves have that feature.
It is time to move on. The next stop is located at the southwestern edge of the Burren region. It ranks among the most visited tourist sites in Ireland and is a signature point on the official Wild Atlantic Way tourist trail.
You have to see it in person to get the scale of it. Yeah, surely.
Thank you for a second.
Yeah, absolutely.